Why are you so serious?
I don't know if I was smiling. Anyway. Okay. Hi, welcome to Rated G TV. My name is Glennis, and you guys know you can always call me G. We'll be reviewing Ready to Love Season 3, Episode 4, Boss Moves. Now, this episode was a doozy, okay? There's going to be a lot to discuss. So, we're going to get right into it. When the episode opens, it opens with Nephew Tommy introducing the guys to his Tommy's Lounge. Basically, he's letting the guys know that this week the power has switched to them and they will be sending home 2 women. Tommy tells them this week to mostly focus on chemistry and not attraction. Next, we see the ladies look like they're gathered together in the dining hall, and then eventually the guys come in and join them. Then we see Naya and Chris talking, aka Mr. KG Smooth. Chris asks her, did she pick up earlier in the day that he wanted to kiss her? And in the midst of that, she just gives him a kiss. Now, Calfani and Denise are actually in the next scene. They're playing and talking over a game of pool. We see Adriana come in and ask Denise, can she pull Calfani to the side just to have a conversation with him? As Calfani and Adriana are talking, Adriana is laying on his chest and talking and smiling and hee, ha, ha, ha. And if you watch Calfani's body, his hands are stiff. It's like he doesn't know what to do with his hands. So he's a little bit uncomfortable. Like, should I touch her? We don't really see too much of them interacting. Even in the last few episodes, I don't even remember interacting that much in the first episode. And of course, the camera shoots to Denise, and you see Denise. It could be editing, but you see Denise drinking her wine and watching Adriana and Calfani's interaction, and then she says in her confessional that Adriana is being very thirsty. What you should have did was gave her a bottle of water. I can see what Denise is saying about that. Remember in the last episode, Denise had a lot to say about Rashid, who is Adriana's #1 pick. So to me, the scene seemed like she was being a little petty. She was laying on Calfani because she knew Denise would be watching. It's kind of like, I want to say it was get back. You know, sometimes men can kind of pick up on certain things, and that's why if you look at Calfani's body language, when he's sitting there with her, his hands are looking stiff. We go to the next scene. It's the next day. Majority of the cast, they're at the pool. We see everyone playing volleyball. It looks like the guys against the girls. We go to and everyone breaks up in a group. There's Adriana, Simone, Rashid, and Edwin. And Adriana decides to say to Rashid, hey, I wanted to talk to you about this specifically. It seems like she wanted to talk to him one-on-one, but she decided to talk to him about it in front of Simone and Edwin. So she goes on, which I didn't know you can do this and discuss what was talked about when the women get together and meet with Nephew Tommy. But anyway, Adriana decides she wanted to snitch and tell Rashid that Denise called him a narcissist. He looks a little offended and says that his name and the term narcissist he's never heard in a sentence before. So Adriana goes on to say in front of Rashid and Edwin and Simone, keep in mind there are 2 guys in this group and the guys are making decisions to send the ladies home. So she says this to him, and then she turns around and says, well, you know, maybe she meant it as a colorist thing, maybe because he was light-skinned. Now, I have been involved in a dark-skinned, light-skinned thing, not in a way of me being mean to a lighter-skinned person, but been around conversations or noticed certain things of how they carry themselves. So the way Adriana put it is, if she was judging or she was making the comments about Rashid and calling him a narcissist because he was light-skinned, I know for sure that that's not what Denise was saying. The last video I did break down the narcissist or narcissism in the term and some traits they show. Now, people have to understand there are different forms of narcissism or being a narcissist. Some people automatically jump to the full out, all the way bad term of narcissism narcissist. Anyone can carry certain traits of a narcissist and may not recognize it, or they may think it's something else because they're only defining narcissism as one thing, but there's a broad spectrum of that definition. You can go and research it and look into it. I don't like the fact that she decided to talk to him in front of Edwin. If she had that issue with what was being said, she should have either just talked to Denise about it, or if she wanted to tell Rashid, then she should have talked to Rashid and Denise at the same time, and they all addressed that conversation. So I wasn't really cool with that. Now, I did leave something out. A prior scene before that, Denise and Joy were actually sitting and talking at the pool. She did say, Cal Funny is her number one pick, but she did say she wanted to go on a date with Anthony. She also said she wanted to go on a date with Rashid. Her exact words was, I want to talk and go on a date with Rashid just to make sure I'm just not tripping. And then, of course, we get to that scene with Adriana and how she flipped that whole colorism or colorist conversation. I really think that she was just trying to be messy. I don't think it was odd that she decided to bring it up in front of Edwin, because there are two guys that's going to go back to the other guys and tell them what's being said, knowing the guys have the power to send someone home. I don't know. It seems like Adriana was leveling out her playing field, trying to get rid of her competition. So the next scene is with Winter and Jay. It looks like they're just vibing, and Winter decides to bring up for the third time that she had a dream about Jay and that they jumped in the pool with all their clothes on. And there's not really a lot that was going on there in that scene, just them connecting. We also go back to the pool where Denise is talking to Cal Funny. She decides to bring up Adriana to him, in that she was not cool with the fact that Adriana was all on him. Now, if you go back to the casting special, he talked about one of his red flags with a woman is jealousy, and he doesn't like it. So when she brought it up, I want you to pay attention to his body language and his eyes. He also tells Denise that, she shouldn't be upset about that. He is there trying to make other connections just to make sure he's making the right connection. It's an open dating show, so he wants to make sure he is making the right decision by, letting stuff flow and talking to other people. He did mention in his confessional that, Denise just needs to be confident in herself and know that if their connection is strong, he's going to come back to her at the end of the day. It's a show. It's a dating show. So this type of show is like a winners and losers, okay? You want to stay on there to the end to make the connection. I just felt like Denise maybe should have kept it to herself a little bit and then brought it up a little bit later, or maybe just took a mental note. Sometimes I'll take a mental note and say, okay, let's see how this plays out, and let's see how he is with her the next time. And then maybe if it's the same mess, then I might bring it up or something like that. And I felt like she should have did that. The next scene, we go to Brian and Alex. Brian and Alex are actually on a date. We see in their date that they are really connecting. You can tell Brian is being very open with her. They're talking about everything from what triggers them in a relationship, what they will not tolerate in a relationship. You can see Brian, as I stated before, he's being very open with Alex. He's really feeling her. You can tell he wants to touch her. He wants to kiss her, which they do kiss. He likes to be open. He asks her so many questions because he's really into her and he wants to get to know her a lot better. In the next scene, we got Edwin and Joy. Looks like they're taking a walk together. Looks like he's feeling Joy a lot. He goes on to say that Joy is like a Maserati. You never see Maserati commercials because they market themselves, meaning that she don't have to do much to be noticed. Now, I will say, Edwin, I do work in a field where I, know values of cars, and can we give Joy another car, because Maseratis depreciate in value as soon as you drive them off the lot. So let's go back to the drawing board. Give her a better car. Let's just say a Bentley, okay? Let's just say a Bentley. But anyway, they talk about their prior relationship. She asks him about the things he went through when he was in the service and the things he went through when he was on the police force. And he does say that he did go to therapy one time, and she says she believes people should get therapy and work out certain situations. He told her that his therapy is through his cooking. As we all know that Edwin is a chef. I do creep on his page and look at the tacos that he make. Looks like it's the next day. The cast are hanging out at the pool again. Seems like they do a lot of hanging out at the pool. It is Edwin, Rashid, Shay, I think Adriana, Simone might be there. I don't know. It's a couple other people there. And so Rashid asks Edwin, you are ex-cop, so how do you feel about the whole police brutality thing? So Edwin goes in and he begins to talk about how he feels about the whole police brutality thing. And then all of a sudden, Shay decides to get up and leave the conversation. She walks over to Denise and Anthony and says, I had to get out of that conversation. It was too deep and it was too boring. I'm here to make a love connection, not to be in no boring conversation. After all of that, I think Edwin, even though he keeps talking, he does hear what Shay says. And with him overhearing that, it is a turnoff for him. He says that anyone that's going to be in a relationship with him has to be able to have a good conversation. That is part of a love connection for him. With Shay, I haven't seen too many connections she's making unless there are some things that's been edited out that we haven't seen. This is my thing. A whole part of being in a relationship with someone that's going to be with you forever, you guys are going to have deep conversation. Don't you want a man that can have a good conversation with you? I want to point this out too. Rashid asked Edwin the question and he answered it. Doesn't seem like he was going on forever. Everyone else seemed like they was into what he was saying. Shay, if you're trying to make a love connection, a deep conversation is a part of that. There is Winter and Jay. Winter does say that she feels that Jay is different when Joy is around. So we see Jay get up out of the pool. Soon as Joy walks over to the pool, he gets up, greets her, but he comes back in. Looks like Winter is a little bothered by the fact that Joy has more of a connection with Jay, and she just kind of, feels a little awkward about it. Like she likes him, and she knows Joy is really feeling him, but she don't want to cross that line. Jay and Winter go back to Winter's room and have a conversation, and of course he has his shirt off because he just came from the pool. In the hallway, we see Simone peeking up, sneaking, trying to see what's going on. In her confessionals, she's pretty much saying that they're doing something they have no business doing. We will get into that a little bit later too. Alright, then later on in the show, everyone on the cast, they're all sitting and making s'mores at like a campfire. Adriana says it's always some issue between her and Denise. It's always been snarky to her in some kind of way, which I didn't see it, but hey, maybe I'm being biased because I really like Denise. I don't know, maybe because Adriana has rubbed me the wrong way and I'm just seeing things. I don't know. You guys tell me. Feel free to comment and let me know what you think. But anyway, she decides that she wants to pull Denise to the side and have a conversation about what she said about Rashid. And Adriana feels that Denise shouldn't have made the comments about him. And then Adriana does something. That's what she brings in Cal Funny in the conversation, talking about when is it going to be my time, to hang with him or whatever. I felt like she brought that up just to be petty, to get Denise to be rah-rah, because there's a lot of people out there. She just pretty much told, Adriana that whatever I say, that's my opinion and it shouldn't affect you about what I say about someone. Now, Adriana does not know that Denise did tell Joy she did want to go on a date with Rashid to get to know him a little bit better. Denise decides to tell Adriana her backstory about the abusive relationship she used to be in. And you can tell Denise has dealt with it. And so she tells her that she almost died in a relationship and nobody could find her for 4 days. And she just says to Adriana that there's some things that Rashid does that triggers that person she's dealt with before. And that's probably what she's seeing and what she's picking up. Adriana goes on to say that she understands Denise has been through a lot, but she shouldn't use it as an excuse. Now, Denise is not using it as an excuse. Denise is just saying what she sees. When I've gotten to a certain age, I've dealt with a lot of guys. I've interacted with a lot of guys, where if it's on my job, where it's me when I was in college, where it's me when I was working on sets, like film sets and things like that. I interact with a lot. And I've been on a few dates. And so sometimes when you get to a certain place and you've been through a lot, you can pick up certain things on people or on guys that you don't want to tolerate. I can look at someone and tell my friends, no, I'm not going to deal with this because he's this, that, and the other. I'm not even going to waste my time because I already know this. And like I said, Rashid may not be an abusive person, but you know, the stuff about his materialistic stuff and I'm this, I'm that. That might trigger what, you know, her ex might have started talking like. Adriana, that does not necessarily mean that she's using this as an excuse to not talk to Rashid. She's just stating this is what triggers her, and when he does that, that triggers her. They work it out, and Denise asks were they good, and Adriana says they were good, and then all of a sudden, Adriana and Rashid walk to the side. She goes on to tell Rashid that Denise has been through a terrible relationship. She just said that she's met a lot of people like Denise, and that tough exterior is just to cover up all the hurt that they have been through. One thing I will say, Adriana, that I wasn't cool with, that was not your story to share with Rashid. So you're being too messy for me. You're being too messy for me. And like I said, I just feel like you're doing it to make sure she leaves. I don't know. I could be wrong. You guys feel free to comment and tell me what you think. And then we see Jay and Joy, they're talking. Jay and Joy are talking about their connection and how they're not insecure in their connection. So while they're talking, Simone comes up and sits with them, and she decides to bring up the fact that Jay, it's just so much. Jay was in Winter's room without a shirt on. And you can see in Jay's face he wasn't cool with that. Now Joy, being the secure lady that she is, she doesn't flinch or anything like that. She does say in her confessional, hey, I'm not gonna trip about that, but if he doing something he don't got no business and lying to me in my face, the truth will come out. That made Simone look very bad, and that she was being very messy. When she did that, it put a bad taste in my mouth. Like, you see what you see. And if it's meant for me to say something and enjoy one of my homegirls, of course I'm gonna say something like that. But we're in an open dating show, and that everyone is open to interact with everyone. That shouldn't be your business. We see Brian and Alicia on a date, and so Alicia does say to Brian that she was waiting for him to ask her on a date. And I don't know if you guys can see his eyes. His eyes look like he was like, what? Yeah, I wasn't thinking about doing that at all. But anyway, I think he's her number one choice because he just fit the description of a big chocolate man with a beard. That's just it. You know what I'm saying? She tells him she can tell that he's very smart, which I haven't seen them talking a lot amongst each other. She asks Brian, how she feels about, them two and their connection. And to be honest, it feels like Brian was talking about your fluff. He may be feeling Alex more, so he decides to just kind of fluff it and say, yeah, you look like you're a stern mother. You look like you're beautiful. You carry yourself well. Like little fluffy things, not really too deep. It just seems like there was not a lot of connection there on Brian's end. Now, in Alicia's confessional, she does say that she knows she's Brian number one. I'm sorry, Alicia, that is incorrect. Brian walks Alicia back to her room. They talk in her room. She offered him some snacks. I thought that was funny. I would have took the snacks. He tells her, yeah, I'll probably come back a little later. In the process of him leaving her room, he walks down to Alex's room, knocks on the door because Alex has been on his mind all night, even on the date with Alicia. So he goes, says goodnight to Alex, and who do we get to see being nosy? The person who doesn't like deep conversation, Shay. She decides to go down to Alicia's room, knock on the door, tell Alicia, and brings Alicia to spy. The thing about Shay, like I said, I haven't seen too many connections that she's making. It's like she's being very, very messy. But Shay, ma'am, the name of the show is Ready to Love, not Ready to Be Nosy, okay? I haven't seen one guy talk about you except for Edwin, but he was saying that he was turned off by you and the fact that you said his conversation was boring. The fact that Shay decided to be messy and go tell, what kind of mess is that? The main reason why I watch the show is because these are older ladies that are in a place in their life that they're really settled down. They've been through all the games and stuff like that, but I didn't know people were going to be so messy like this. But anyway, Shay decides to show Alicia. Alicia's feelings is hurt. That was the end of the episode. So it's just a lot that was going on. I can't wait to watch the next one. Now guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that notification bell so you'll be notified of new videos to come. See you soon.